Time again for Talking Dogs with Ian Grant, owner of Vermont Dog Boarding and Behavior, VFW Drive Hyde Park. It's the show that delves into the training, socializing, behavior, nutrition, and wellness of your dog. And brought to you by Guy's Farm and Yard with locations in Morrisville, Montpelier, Williston, and St. Albans. If it eats and grows, Guy's can feed it. And we're back with the trainer, Ian Grant. And speaking of feeding your dog and nutrition, that's the topic today. And specifically, it's about mushrooms. Now, I know we've talked about other specific foods in the past. Pumpkin is the one that comes to mind right off. Perfect timing for that. But then you're dealing with mushrooms. So what clued you into mushrooms and why that is a iffy subject?
So I ended up buying a book on dog nutrition, and it's almost as big as the Bible, let's say. Took me some time to get through it, but lately, and I finally did it, so many good things have come out of this. And one of the things was this mushroom that you can add to your dog's food. Now, here's the first thing. Most people will think, okay, there's also wild mushrooms. There's mushrooms that we buy in the store. So an easy way to remember this is that all mushrooms that are good for humans are good for dogs.
Oh, that's good.
And the ones that are poisonous to us are poisonous to them.
Makes sense.
Yes. So any wild mushroom is an absolute no-go whatsoever.
Now, these are wild mushrooms. These are mushrooms that grow in your lawn and
in the woods, so, trees, all that kind of thing.
Do dogs tend to gravitate towards them?
You know, it's funny. Ever since I've started talking about this, I haven't ever heard anybody tell me that their dog gets them. I mean, we've had them in our yards. Our dog would just run around them. They sniff them, but then they just kind of go about their business.
So they're not really interested in them.
They're not interested.
For the most part.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No. So that's the first thing. So the second thing is they can actually help your dog's digestive system.
Oh, really? How's that?
Well, it helps kind of regulate the gut and everything in it. Oftentimes for us humans, when we take medications, it kind of can mess up our gut. So we need the probiotics and that kind of thing. So mushrooms have the ability to kind of help regulate things. And here is the biggie if you're ready.
Okay.
Mushrooms are actually linked to making it so your dog lives longer.
Really?
There's mushrooms. So there's substances.
Is that the same for humans too?
I don't believe so.
You haven't studied that aspect of it.
No. But there's all sorts of substances in the mushrooms that actually help your dog live longer.
And of course, these are the good mushrooms, obviously.
These are the good mushrooms. So to give you an example, ever since I read this, I've been throwing in a couple of button mushrooms into my dog's food, almost like a topper, if you will. So
you're making a salad. I'll throw in a few mushrooms for my dog too.
Chef salad today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feed them raw. You can feed them raw or cooked. And if you're going to cook them, you can actually just boil them up if you want to. And if you want to take it a step further, that mushroom broth that you have just made by boiling these can be poured into the dog's food too. So this is something that is super beneficial for dogs. I would venture, I think, a while ago we did our top 10 superfoods for dogs.
Right.
From what I'm reading, this could totally be a superfood.
Could be in addition to the list.
Absolutely. When it comes to feeding them, I would just make sure, that if you've got a smaller dog, you're not giving them a humongous mushroom, that we're cutting it up properly. And then anytime I talk about nutrition, if you have any questions, just consult your vet, talk to them about it, questions, concerns, or whatnot. But this is a biggie, and I've started to, we go grocery shopping. I might snag a package of mushrooms and get something for the dogs.
Ian's going to be writing a new book.
Yeah,
the new cookbook for dogs. What's good for them. So mushrooms, huh?
Who knew?
Who knew? I had no idea. Now that you've learned this, do you actually look at the ingredients in some of the dog foods that you get? I mean, is that something that might be included in the list?
I haven't seen it included in a list, but obviously I wasn't looking for it.
But you weren't looking for it then, because this is a new development.
Yeah, I knew I'd figured out or found out a couple of months ago that shiitake mushrooms are really good for dogs.
Oh, shiitake mushrooms.
Yeah. Now we got to be careful because some mushrooms get expensive.
Yeah, our dog's going to eat better than we are.
Yeah, have a gourmet meal, but. Just look at it. Obviously, figure out what works for your wallet and whatnot. But when it comes down to food and nutrition, I'm going to play a Forrest Gump. My mama always says.
Yeah.
My mom always used to say you can either pay the grocer or the doctor.
Right.
And same situation here. You can either pay the grocer or you can pay your vet. And right now, I like the idea of throwing in some fresh vegetables into my dog's food on a regular basis.
Well, I know we talked about fresh vegetables in general. You can't go wrong with that for the most part.
You can't. And so a good rule of thumb is I would just say replace about 10% of your dog's food with some fresh fruits and veggies. Just 10%. And you don't have to do it every single day, every meal. But if you start to do this, a handful of times over the week, you're going to improve your dog's overall health and, just gut health too.
We've come a long way from gravy train and Alpo.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine
man.
what was in those foods.
Oh, I don't even want to bother looking now. Back with our question from the doggy bag in just a moment here on Talking Dogs. Back with Talking Dogs with Ian Grant from Vermont Dog Boarding and Behavior, VFW Drive Hyde Park. To find out more about his facility, log on to VermontDogBoardingAndBehavior.com and go to the podcast, and you can check out some of his past podcasts that have been making the rounds of late, some making even more. Maybe we'll talk about what your particular one in a future show. Our question this morning, Ian, is every time I play with my dog, he bites my hands. How can I get him to stop? Now, is he biting them maliciously, or is he biting to be playful?
I'm taking this as more of a playful kind of way.
Yeah, okay. I hope so.
Well,
yeah.
I'm guessing every time I play, I'm guessing you're not playing all the time to get bitten.
Right. I know that's not my main goal. That's for sure.
Yeah. So the big thing is, how do we get this to stop? I would actually probably stop play completely at that time. As soon as you feel, and this happens inadvertently, right? If we're playing tug,
they just get over rambunctious.
Yeah. So there's no malicious intent. Just kind of, sometimes we call it collateral damage, if you will. But I would just kind of just make a quick sound like a hey, and just drop the toy, take a step back, because we just want our dog to know, like, okay, that was too much. You're not allowed to touch my hand. We want the game to come to a complete and utter stop. So they know that what they just did is what makes this game stop. And if they truly want to play, they won't do it again.
Right.
It may take some repetition, but and it's happened to me. Sometimes I play with dogs that come in for lessons, and we don't know each other, but I can tell the dog's playful. They can tell that I'm playful, and you have a good time. But sometimes they may catch a finger or something along those lines, and we just have to make sure that they know the boundaries to that.
Now, what about with your own dogs? When you play with them, does that kind of issue come up at all, or not with yours?
Not with mine. May sometimes gets a little close, my little Frenchie.
Yeah.
But that's just, she is so into playing tug. She just wants to run and grab it, and she'll just grab whatever. But she hasn't, I think probably once in, 4 years of playing, she caught my hand, just kind of scraped it, which it didn't feel good, but she hasn't done it since. So
did you use that?
Yeah. Because it does surprise you.
Yeah.
And if you don't do anything about it, then they're just going to
They're going to think this is okay, and then the bites get a little bit more.
Yeah. You can think of it this way. Basketball players, if they play too rough, they get a foul called, the whistle blows, the game stops.
Okay.
So that's kind of what we want to do, is just stop the game, and we're done for a second, and then start it back up, so they know, like, there's a cause and effect to it.
All right. We're calling a personal foul on May. Too much roughness. All right. 2 free throws. All
yes.
Right. So, and no snacks. That's
no.
It. So, all right. If you have a question for Ian, you can email him directly to info@VermontDogBoardingAndBehavior.com. Next week, on kind of a related topic, using play to help nervous dogs. Is that kind of to try to get them out of their shell or out of their comfort zone?
I just had a German Shepherd in that was nervous around Ethan, who works for me. So I'll tell you the little story that goes along with it, because it was fun to be a part of, and it was fun to watch the growth.
Coming up next week at the same time on Talking Dogs with Ian Grant, brought to you by Guy's Farm and Yard, with locations in Morrisville, Montpelier, Williston, and St. Albans. If it eats and grows, Guys can feed it. And for the trainer Ian Grant, I'm Roland LaJoy, and we are Talking Dogs.